Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 4 of Decoding Wealth. Today we're going to talk about tax strategies. Taxes are a huge topic of discussion nowadays. So today we're going to decode that topic. We're going to talk about tax strategies for individuals, but also the do's and don'ts of tax strategies for business owners. Now, I will advise you, make sure that you have pen and paper ready. My guest for today has a lot of great information to share for you, or share with you, I should say. So make sure that you're in a position to receive this information so that ultimately you can apply it. I won't waste any time today because I want to make sure we have enough time to cover everything and take a deep dive. So I want to introduce my special guest, CPA, Mr. Demario Black.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me, Daniel. I'm excited to
Thank
be
you.
here today and to drop some gems.
Got it, man. Well, I
So
know you right person for this particular strategy, man. But first, I know you are a Michigan guy. You're a graduate of Michigan State, man, and somehow you made your way to Georgia. I know you said that the people down here are a little bit nicer and that the Southern hospitality is real. And so you decided to make Georgia your home, man, and start your business here. So before we dive into the topic of tax strategies, man, tell us a little bit about your journey and what ultimately led you to become a CPA.
definitely. So, like you said, I am from Michigan originally. And I did go to MSU for undergrad and grad school. Unfortunately, we just lost last weekend to Purdue.
Yeah,
So not ranked as high as football anymore, but I
right.
guess you could say I'm a Georgia Dogs fan now since I'm in
Okay,
Georgia.
we'll
But
take
I
it.
started my practice in Michigan with the intent to help those reach financial success. I knew there was a lack of CPAs in our community, but there only being 1% that are Black. So I felt obligated to be a resource in the financial literacy gap that I saw.
Okay,
I moved down to Georgia in 2018 because I wanted to relocate. I had some friends and family down here, and I just loved the atmosphere as far as business professionals and just seeing Black people do so great down here. It was just really refreshing to see the Black Mecca, or Wakanda, as me and my friends refer to,
right.
but it's really true in a sense. But I've been down here. My practice has been growing, helping small business owners and personal people. So we focus mostly on tax strategy, some business services that include bookkeeping, payroll, business formation, and tax planning within that. And then more recently, adding financial services as far as insurance and annuities and securities to make sure we provide all the services we can in house or best advice we can to our clients.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So it's a lot, man. You wear a lot of different hats, man, doing a lot of great things. And you've been here long enough, man, for us to claim you as a Georgia resident, man, since you've been here for a couple years. So I heard the reference of you wanting to be a Bulldogs fan, man. So we welcome that as well. So we'll start from the top, man. It's so many different things that we can talk about around tax strategies, but let's just start from a base level or from the basics. First of all, really, what is a CPA and why is it beneficial for individual or business owner to have a CPA?
That's a great question. A lot of people don't know that a CPA is a certified public accountant. So all CPAs are accountants, but not all accountants are CPAs. A CPA has to go through a little bit more rigor of training as well as education, and then pass a series of exams to obtain that license. And the big difference maker is mostly the experience level. And I'm not going to say accountant can't have the experience level, but there's certain things CPAs can do that most accountants can't, like sign off on audits and reviews and certain financial documents for a company. So it may be equivalent comparison to maybe a doctor or a nurse. Not to say a nurse doesn't can't help you, but
So there's a
sometimes
difference.
you do need a doctor for a proper diagnosis. So I would say we're kind of like the doctors in our industry, or the highest achievement level in our field. So a business person and personal person seeking tax advice or business advice should seek a CPA, because accounting is sort of the language of business. So it's the
Right.
foundation. If you purchase a home, you need a strong foundation to be able to build it up. So when it comes to your finances and the knowledge that you have, to waver through the financial changes with taxes and planning in your life, it's good to have a financial expert on your team. Now, CPA would be best, but if you can't, other professionals in the realm will be good to consult to. But always look for an accountant when you're talking
Mhm.
about your taxes or any financial advice within a business to add that value.
Yeah, great point. And I appreciate you for explaining that. I think it's good for the audience to understand exactly what a CPA, CPA is and what they have to offer. And that's just a good way to start before we really go into this whole topic around taxes. Now, I know, and you referenced that one of your primary markets is business owners, and of course, I know you work with individuals as well. But let's talk about the process. When you're dealing with business owner clients, what does that process look like in terms of helping them with tax strategies and just that overall tax preparation?
hmm Good point to make, because when I get a lot of business clients that need advice with taxes, we kind of skip some steps by the time they reached me. So sometimes we're working backwards to get things corrected. And I mentioned foundation before. When starting a business, you want to have proper documentation and formation for your business, right? And that means setting up as an LLC. For small business owners, don't conduct or transact business without forming an LLC. And
Mm-hmm.
that's more on the legal side, because you can still transact business as a sole proprietor or individual or independent contractor. But to protect you with that corporate veil from your personal assets being attacked, or you being sued for liability for bad business, if it was to happen, you want that LLC protection. Two,
Yes.
you want to have professionals in place. So you may have done it yourself. You can form your LLC yourself, but you may not have a bookkeeper or a CPA on your team to correctly guide you on how to maintain those records, right? And then two or three, you may try to prepare those financials and file taxes without speaking to an expert, and you may lose deductions or be penalized for not being in compliance. And that's where I see, some problem areas. So we try to start on the ground floor and making sure you're organized correctly, then that you're operating and have the right professionals in place for your accounting department, because you are a small business, so you need an accounting department, whether that be a bookkeeper or yourself being a bookkeeper, bringing in a CPA to do that work, and then
Right.
accurately keeping records and filing, timely and compliance, and making sure you take advantage of all your deductions when you do file. Because if you don't do these things necessarily, you may overpay in taxes, or you may not know what you don't know, right? You can hurt your hand on the field playing sports, but and think something's broke, but you don't know if it's broke until you see a medical professional, right?
Right.
It's kind of similar with the county. You don't know that you're taking all the deductions that you need for the type of business or receiving the right credits if you don't consult with a professional to understand, right? Because there's also differences in the types of businesses. For instance, real estate has a big advantage with depreciation that maybe a hairstylist may not be able to take, or a barber may not be able to take with their business, right? Because in real estate, you have assets that you could depreciate on a high level. Now, if you don't know that, um, more in taxes. So we try to follow a straight line path of getting things formed right,
Right.
documenting and executing in the correct manner with our clients.
Right. And I love that you start with, the end in mind. Where do we want to go? Where do we want to get to? And I think that's a great strategy or process to have, when you're dealing with individuals and as well as business owners. And you also touched on, some of the things that you've seen in terms of maybe flaws or mistakes, even once you first, get a client that comes to you. And that really leads into my next point. I kind of want you to touch on for our audience, what are some of the most common mistakes that you have seen made in terms of tax preparation, when dealing with business owners?
The biggest one is documentation and record keeping.
Mm,
So a lot of owners, when they start out, they may think bookkeeping is too expensive. I'll tell you, it costs more to not know your numbers than to pay someone to have them in order, right?
yeah,
For instance, keeping track of receipts and expenses that are deductible can be a major factor. Because if we think back, it's November now. If we're gearing up for tax season, it's kind of hard to remember what you spent money on in January. And if you didn't, record those expenses or you lost receipts during the year, which happens, or they get wiped out or worn out due to time
right,
and you don't have an appropriate accounting system, you lose that deduction. Say that's a $500 deduction. That makes a difference on your tax return if you add that up throughout the year, right? And over the years. So you don't want to overpay in taxes just because you don't document properly or have proper bookkeeping in place. And they have a
yeah,
lot of easy tools that you can use yourself as well, like
yeah,
QuickBooks, for instance. QuickBooks will keep track of your receipts electronically so you don't lose them. It allows you to record your income and expenses so you know what your profit and loss and balance sheet is at any given point in time in the year. Now, you still may need some help or expertise on recording those transactions, but it's a good start to have a system in place, right, to know your numbers. It's kind
true,
of like, you want a bank account. You don't want to keep shoebox money in your house. It's not a good way to maintain cash flow, right? Same
yeah,
with your accounting records. You want a good system. Excel is good, but it's only as good as your accounting knowledge. So if you're a doctor or a therapist, you're not really accounting savvy. You understand how to add and subtract things, but it's a little bit more complicated than that
yeah,
to do accounting. And if anyone has ever taken a class, they'll know, accounting was one of the toughest classes they partaked in if they dabbled in it. So you want the experts to do the things that you don't understand so you don't waste time. So it makes sense to invest in an advisor or some type of program that can help guide you because you'll lose deductions. A big deduction this year for business owners is meals. So business meals are 100% deductible. They used to be 50%. 50% jump in tax deductions is the big deal for small business owners, um,
absolutely,
as well as keeping track of vehicle expenses. Your vehicle expenses can be written off based off the mileage or actual expenses. A lot of business owners don't know that. They just think, I got to track my miles. And one, you do need to track them, so you need a proper app like Mileage IQ, or QuickBooks has a tracking app so you can keep track of your miles. But you can write off your gas for your vehicle, insurance, as well as lease payments if you leased your vehicle, all up to the percentage that there's business use, right? So that could be a huge deduction for our small business owners. Even keeping track of during the pandemic, home office has become a big expense. So keeping track of your home office utilities, I think, well, I'm working from home right now. I think you're in a home-based environment right now too,
right,
Daniel. So using that space in your home for business purposes, you can deduct that. Even though it's a personal expense, you can deduct it in your business. So keeping track of those utilities and expenses related to the business, even office furniture, is a huge expense for small business owners, especially this year during the pandemic when things were shut down and people are working from home. So that's one of the things where we go back to you don't know what you don't know. So advise with a tax professional. Some people may know that, but a new business owner may not because someone hasn't brought it up to their attention. or they don't know understand the type of business that they're in. But a trained CPA would know, and would know based off the industry what expenses would relate to that business to help that business owner deduct and minimize their tax liability. So record keeping is a big one. I could talk about that all day. Compliance is a big mistake I see, especially with paying contractors. So what this means, a lot of business owners, whether it be real estate developers, physical therapists, or anyone who hires contractors to help in their business, they have to issue those contractors they pay over $600 a 1099. A lot of business owners try to cut corners at first by using maybe a cash app or other platforms to just pay their contractors, but not really keeping track of who they paid and how much they paid, right? So paying under the table is actually illegal, especially if it's over $600 in an annual year. So keeping track of this can avoid any tax penalties or compliance penalties from the IRS, because if they are to find out about this, it could cost you more than it would have took the time to properly document it, submit the 1099s, and be in compliance. So it's better to be ahead of the game than to try to play catch up when it comes to the IRS, because if they catch you, there's penalties, right? If you're ahead of it, and it's a tax deduction. You get to deduct these expenses for independent contractors, right? But you got to document it. If you don't document it and you say you paid these contractors at the end of the year, they're going to say, well, you had $10,000 in contractor payments, but we received no 1099s from your business. It's not adding up. So you got to
Yep.
understand they have ways of catching you in uncompliance, and a lot is becoming more reported to the IRS. And even Biden is trying to allow them to look into your bank statements and apps so they can catch you red-handed. So it's better to be ahead of them than to be caught by them.
Why do you think these men don't want to get married?
It really depends on an individual's why for getting married. A lot of the things that make a man good are kind of intangible, and his credit score shouldn't be the metric for what makes him good.
Hey, Dad, I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
Today, we're going to be making some key lime cupcakes.
You touched on a lot of great things there. Compliance is key, and that's first and foremost. But then also, too, as you talked about, sometimes making sure that you are investing in the right things, whether that's the right software or the professional to help you, because and it relates to one of the things that I always tell a lot of clients around insurance, which is risk is free. You pay for protection. Some things you can't afford not to have, and so making sure have everything together and in order. So whether it's bookkeeping or all of that, just to make sure that you're on track year in and year out is key. So that's a lot of great information, and that's a great point that you made. And I think that that's good for the audience to hear because, like you said, sometimes an established business owner, he may know those things, may not. But even for that new business owner, that's something great for them to hear, to know, hey, day one, these are some of the things that I need to make sure that I have in place so that come tax time, we don't have any hiccups or minimal mistakes. So that's a good point. Now, one of the things that you talked on earlier when you did your intro that kind of caught my attention was, and I know we spoke about this before, I know you said that with your CPA firm, one of the services that you have started to offer here as of late is advice and products that relate to life insurance and annuities. So I want to hear more about that. One, what led you to want to offer those services, and how does that merge, those insurance products and with you being a CPA?
That's an excellent point and question because when I set out to have my own firm, one of my goals was to help my clients reach financial success.
Mm-hmm.
So just being a tax preparer or offering business services wasn't enough to help all my clients because they need a complete package when it comes to financial service. I need to be able to help them on investing and saving and not just give them the tax tips, but help them advance their wealth, right? Not just through strategies, but providing them with products.
Right.
And life insurance made sense, right? There's no compliance issue from a CPA selling life insurance, and it goes under our umbrella of the services that we want to offer to our clients. Right? A lot of our clients are concerned with death, especially during the pandemic. We had a lot of unexpected deaths, even too soon. I've known friends and colleagues who are my age, my peers who have passed due to COVID. So it wasn't just the elders that we're worried about. We're worried about us young people too. So protecting our assets in our family in the future is a big thing. And it's a necessity, really, like you mentioned. It's not a do you want it? This is a you need it. Just as if we have insurance for our cell phones. We have insurance for our cars. We hope we don't need it, but if in the event that you do, you should have it. I remember seeing recently the actor Aaron Johnson or AJ Johnson, who played Zell in Friday, didn't have, his wife had to start a GoFundMe when he passed just to bury him. And it's unfortunate that that happens, but it could have been easily taken care of with a
Right.
term policy that's cheaper than what he probably, spent on nightly meals with his family, right? So if you think about it, the affordability of life insurance and the value, it's very beneficial to the policy owners and individuals, and it helps create instant wealth within
Right.
a family and take care of those final expenses if you pass. So it's really a no-brainer when I think of it from a tax perspective because it's tax-free income to your heirs and it helps them, generate wealth. And then there's other services, for instance, IUL, Index Universal Life, that is a great product for both real estate investors, people saving for college funds who like the 529s but want more flexibility, or people who just want more income tax free in retirement. This is a tax proof plan for them that allows them to invest and not actively because they may not have strong financial acumen to invest in the market, but they can invest in this product and also protect themselves from the death benefit. So these products complement what I'm trying to do with my clients, help them reach financial success through proper tax planning to keep more money in their pocket, financial planning to help them grow the assets that they do have or increase the assets that they want during retirement. So I couldn't call myself helping my clients reach financial success if I wasn't doing the full financial picture for them. So
Right.
it was a great service that I needed to add. There's a need in the community, And even on the education piece. So even if I'm not providing it to my clients directly, maybe I can get some information out there so that people are aware of these products, right? So they can implement it in their financial plan, or they can, help their family out in our community. Because, like I said, what you don't know can hurt you. So it's very important to get that information out and help the clients I'm already serving, right? To do my due diligence of what my goals were was, to help my clients fully.
Yeah. Now that makes a lot of sense, and both of those products, annuities and life insurance, so many different ways that you can leverage those things from a tax perspective, or just again, it's just all about education, and of course that's really just the substance of this show is just to make sure that people are aware of the different things that can be beneficial for them. And a lot of times, as you know, it's just a lack of knowledge or awareness. A lot of times people just don't know that these different things exist. And then too, just even, going to the example or situation that you spoke on that actor, that's very
Mhm.
unfortunate. But the truth of the matter is we hear stuff like that really too often, all the time, especially
All
within
the
our
time.
community, to where we have people that pass away, and there's a cookout, a fish fry, a GoFundMe account, or something that has to be in place just to simply bury that person. And so that's a whole nother lane that we can go into. But the basis of it is, just imagine if we all grasp the understanding of, hey, if we made sure that the life insurance piece of it was in place, how that could affect every generation if we understood or set that pattern moving forward. So, but I think that was very unique for you to say that you offered those life insurance and annuity services, because I think that's something that makes you a little bit different than most CPAs. That you can take that overall consultative approach to help your client in a number of different ways. And I'm pretty sure that your clients would value those extended services. Um, so one of the things that I want to do right now is let's bullet point 5 key points or takeaways from this episode around tax strategies. So for the audience, everyone that's watching, this is why I wanted to reference and make sure that you have pen and paper handy, because I want you to make sure that you're jotting down this information. So Demario, let's start at the top with number one. What would be one key takeaway or tax strategy, or just something that they should know, just to take away from this episode?
One, always consult with a tax professional, especially when it's with your finances. It does not hurt to get that tax impact advice, whether it be investing in something new, filing, your personal return, because there are a lot of changes in the tax code that are just missed because people don't have that information, or it's just not, readily available when they search. Again, there are
Right.
70,000 pages to the tax code, and a majority of it is geared towards helping you save money on taxes. But a lot of people don't know that. So if you know the game and you play the game, you can save a lot. So consult with a professional.
Okay. So that's number one. Always consult with a tax professional. All right. So what's the second key takeaway?
Two is documentation is key.
Okay.
Documentation is key because you need to prove those deductions, right? Or keep track of things so you make sure they're implemented. If you don't have the proper documentation in place, things can be missed, right? And if things are missed, it costs you money. It's
Sure.
very important that you're knowledgeable about um, what's going on from a month to month perspective in your personal budget and business financing, and then documenting that so you have a record and you can support it if the IRS are ever challenge any tax positions that you take.
Okay. All right. So one, always consult with a tax professional. Two, documentation is key, which is very true. What would that third key takeaway be?
Be in compliance. So it's better to be in compliance them be caught red-handed because there's penalties and interest. For instance, I know people may avoid taxes because they have unreported income, or they paid under the table, or they just don't want to pay the taxes that are due if they file. But being in compliance can help you. For instance, if you wanted to purchase a home, you have to be in compliance. They need 2 years of tax returns to be able to approve your mortgage or approve that financing. Unless you have it like that and you cash it
Right.
out. But if you cash it out and you don't have tax return, guess what? The IRS is going to say, well, how did you purchase this? Because that sale is reported when you purchased that home. So they will know, and they will wonder, well, we haven't received any tax returns, so we're not sure how you came up with the income to afford a mortgage or a home of that size. So being in compliance is key. You don't want any penalties for the IRS. You don't want them digging more into your business than they have to. So stay in compliance.
Okay, good. Got it. So always consult with a tax professional. Documentation is key. We want to make sure that we're compliant. So what's after that? What's 4?
Plan, don't react. And what I
Mm.
mean by that is tax planning is key before the year is over. Once 12/31 comes around, the end of the year, for most taxpayers, you can't really make changes on what happened during that fiscal or calendar year. You're kind of
Yeah.
locked in. Besides contributing to a 401k or IRA, you're really locked in. And this is more for my business owners too, because you can purchase equipment that you could probably depreciate or invest in your business within the year to avoid some of that tax liability. But you have to plan ahead of time before the year is up, instead of coming to a CPA in January or February and reacting to a tax bill, which we can't change much because we didn't implement plan. Now we can help you for the next year, but we'd rather save you money in that current tax year first, right? Because we want more money in your pocket. So plan, don't react.
Right, right. No, that's key. And
In
like you
other
said,
words, be proactive rather than reactive, for better
yeah,
terms.
that's so true. A plan, having a solid plan in play, or any plan for that matter, is key. Because like you said, once you get to the end of that year, it's not really much you can do at that point. So always kind of backing it up, keeping the end in mind, and preparing is always important, always. And so what would be the last thing? What would that be? That 5th and final key takeaway for tax strategies?
Say do your own research. Now, it's good to consult with a CPA, but always do your own research on their advice that they provide and make sure it makes sense for you, as well as just be researching things that may be new tax updates or things related to your business or your personal life to stay educated. Knowledge is power. We can't stop learning after we graduate from high school or college or other trade programs. We have to be lifelong learners to get
Yeah,
ahead in life, right? Things are changing. The world as we know it is changing to a more virtual world than physical. So you have to be aware of these changes by staying on top of the knowledge, doing your own research into things. For instance, Bitcoin, NFTs. If you don't know what those are, please research them. They're becoming more and more a part of our currency. And before that, it was, credit cards and electronic banking and mobile apps of that nature. And I could remember as a kid knowing this was going to be there, my mom talking about this is going to be there, but people who deal with cash hand to hand a lot did not want to realize that cash wasn't going to be, as accessible or a vital piece of our economy anymore. Right. So we're moving off of even digital cash now, right? From the dollar, the US dollar, when I speak of cash, to a Bitcoin cash or NFT or cryptocurrencies, right? And soon you won't see physical paper as currency anymore.
yeah,
So
for sure.
being prepared and understanding and doing research on what's coming next is going to be important in any facet of your life, but especially your finances. Because even if you have a financial plan, that plan may change a lot in 10 years if we have changes in the tax code, we have changes in the type of products that are out there. So always be doing that research and educating yourself.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you'll go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
Nowadays, man, it's just all about information, and you really don't have an excuse not to be abreast on the current situations that's because it's a lot. It's a lot out there for you to be aware of, but there's also a lot of useful resources to get more information and educate yourself. So I think do your research is key. So those 5 key takeaways again. So we got always consult with a tax professional. Documentation is key. You want to make sure that you are being compliant, plan and not react. I love that one. And then lastly, do your research. And while I still have you, man, one of the things that I kind of want you to speak to, because I always want to make sure that each episode we make it a little bit relatable, if you will. Could you maybe speak to 1 or 2 examples specifically where you've worked with clients, or what, maybe some tax strategies that you've given advice on that have helped a client, whether that's personally or a business owner professionally?
Yeah, one is a big tax strategy that is becoming more apparent, but through social media influencers for small business owners, is forming your business as an S corp. So a lot of business owners know that you probably need to start an LLC, right? Legal liability company. But to maximize your tax planning strategy and minimize those tax liabilities, S corp would be a great move for you to move your entity to as you grow. Now, I will say it's all about timing, because you don't need to start there. It's when you reach a certain net income level that it becomes more advantageous, because you have, additional costs, right? You're not going to be able to do this return on yourself, I guarantee you. So you need a tax preparer who can file an S corp for you, actually file the documents to become an S corp, and you need payroll in place. So you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary within this business. And what it does is it limits your self-employment tax as a business owner when you take the S corp strategy and pay yourself. So your self-employment tax is 15.3%. That's a big number for your income, and depending on how much you make, but anywhere 15% is a lot, right? If it's going to cost you of something. So you can avoid, a portion of that tax if you limit what your net income is by operating to be an S corp and paying yourself out in payroll. So I could talk about this strategy in more detail so it makes sense. I actually do an analysis for business owners, but I've been able to save small business owners $20,000 in taxes just by switching to this this S corp strategy over the years. And they've been overpaying their taxes for a number of years. So they were really sick when I told them all they needed to do was to switch to an S-Corp and implement payroll. And a lot of business owners don't think they need payroll just because they're a sole practitioner, maybe a therapist, a doctor, or even a dentist who just works with themselves and maybe one or two staff, but you definitely need it even if you don't have staff, right? If you're making a certain threshold of income. So that's one of the biggest tax savers I have. Another is I've advised a few of my clients who have younger children that are old enough to help and work in the business. They can pay those children out of their business and take a deduction up to $12,550 in the 2021 tax year.
Right.
Just by paying their child. And it could be administrative work. If it's a doctor hours, they could come in a weekend and help filing papers, answer phones, whatever it may be. It may be managing your business's social media account, which I'm sure the kids are a little bit better at than us adults. There's more in their film. Because I even have need help with my social media business posts. But things like that you could pay your child for because you have to pay for a lot of their expenses anyway. So if you pay them through payroll from your business, you could take it as a deduction. They could pay for those things themselves, like summer camp, after school programs, lunch, activities with friends. And instead of just giving them allowance, it's making a tax deduction from the business. So that's a major, tax break that a lot of business owners don't know. And you have to structure it right. You have to have payroll in place. You have to pay them to their account, right? It has to be in their name, but you can be a custodian because they're under 18, and then you can take that deduction. So that can save you, $12,000 of taxable income a year. So depending on how many kids you have and what type of business you have, that could be a huge tax saver for some of our small business owners. So just knowing some of those strategies and being able to implement them correctly, right, with our documentation and being in compliance. Right, I can't just tell you that and you say tomorrow I'm going to send Junior or your little daughter 12,500 before the year is over, and I'm gonna take a deduction. No, it doesn't work as simple as that. The concept is simple. We got to do it properly, right? Through the proper methods and the proper documentation so we can effectively take that deduction. So those are two big ones that are easy and incorporated with like the bills, writing off your home office expenses, some things of that nature. Those are easy pickings that we can help taxpayers, small business owner taxpayers take advantage of.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't have any kids yet, man. But you got me over
I
here
know you're thinking now.
Yeah, just kind of thinking about it. But that's pretty interesting to hear. Whether it be the S-Corp or just a couple of different ways and things that you can write off as a business owner from a tax perspective. So that's pretty cool to hear, man. I appreciate you sharing that and some of the things that you work with all your clients on. Now, I know you do a lot, man. Not only just with the CPA and even offering the services around insurance, man, but I know we've talked off camera, man. You are writing a book, man. That's huge, man. So I want you to just take a moment to tell us about the book. What inspired you to write the book, and really ultimately, what is the book going to be about?
Thanks for bringing that up, Daniel. It's a passion project of mine. Now, I'm an accountant. I'm a numbers guy. I tell even my wife, I'm not a writer, but I have a lot of information that I can share, and I need to put it in a digestible reading form. Maybe, I'm trying to do a ebook, and I want to call it something in the lines of the tax game, because it is a game. If you can follow the code correctly, that you can, if you play the game right, you can win, right? When we're referring to taxes. And what I want to do with the book, whether it be physical or just ebook version or both, is to provide a quick guideline of how you can save on your taxes using a strategy, that I mentioned, that's easy to use for anyone to digest. I'm not going to make it super complicated. I'm going to put in, what the strategy is, how you can take advantage of it and implement it. So that way, if I have clients that I can't reach, because personally I only can do so much, I only can reach so many clients, and I
That's
only can
true.
reach so many people at a given time. I can write this out and expand on it year after year as the tax code changes to help those all over, make sure that they implement the right tax strategies that relate to them in their small business or their personal life without
Yeah.
being able to physically touch everyone, right? So if I can get this product out there, I can get the knowledge out in the easy digestible form. I feel like I can help um, our community grow when it comes to saving on taxes and implementing the right strategies so they keep more money in their pocket, pay less in taxes, and build their wealth through tax-free strategies.
Awesome. Yeah, mass distribution, man. That's pretty key, man. We'll have to further that conversation as well too, because writing a book, man, is actually something that has always been on my list. I think just like with anything, though, it's just a matter of sitting down and getting started, But
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely something that's on my list, man. Because, like you said, there's so many different things that you can really touch on and really push it out to the masses, man. So again, that's a topic for us to have off camera, man. So I appreciate you sharing that as well. In closing, man, I appreciate your time today. I know we talked about a lot. Is there anything that you'd like to close us out with, man, or leave our audience with in terms of just tax strategies?
My best advice is to consult with a tax accountant, right? And with me, I'm available. I want to put my information below for you guys to contact me, but you can reach me at demarioblackcpa.com. I'll always be available to, schedule appointments and talk to you about your strategy or just, ask general questions. So I'm always here to help. And I want you guys to take it serious with your taxes and consult with a CPA or anyone in the field that can help you instead of just doing it yourself and suffering the consequences by not
Yeah.
taking that advice, or at least reaching out to get the information. So,
Got it. Well, your information will definitely be at the bottom of the screen, man, for everyone to get. And if they want to connect with you, man, I definitely would advise it. You are for sure a subject matter expert in this lane. But Demario, man, thank you for your time today to just taking a few moments to share this information with us. And hopefully you can come back and join us for a later episode, later topic, man, and maybe we can even take a part two into this whole tax strategy topic.
definitely looking forward to it. Part two would sound good, even during tax season, because
All
that's
right.
when a lot of people will have those questions, and maybe we have some live panelists so we can address those in person. So, looking forward to that. I want to thank you for having me today. It's been fun giving away some of these gems. I hope everyone can learn and adapt it to their strategy and reach out if you need any more advice. So, thank you.
Perfect, man. Thanks, Demario, man. Thanks for joining us. Got it. Well, a lot to unpack today. A lot of great information that Demario left us with. So just to reiterate, let's go back over those 5 key takeaways. Always consult with a tax professional. Documentation is key. Be in compliance. You want to make sure that you plan, not react. And then lastly, do your research. I truly believe, just as Demario said, these 5 things will really help you from a tax perspective, whether that's personal or professional. And again, it's very, very important. So we advise that you take it serious. Go back, rewatch this episode, share it with a friend that you think could benefit from this information. As always, thank you for tuning in to the show, and I hope you can join us for the next episode of Decoding Wealth.